The night everything broke started with a smile. A calm smile. A polite smile. The kind of smile you wear when you already know something is wrong. Because deep down, I think I always knew she hated me. But I never imagined she would go this far. My name is Alina. I'm 32 years old. And this is the story of how my mother-in-law tried to destroy my marriage and ended up destroying her own life instead. It started 7 years ago, the day my daughter was born. I remember holding her for the first time. Tiny fingers, soft breath, and that beautiful, unexpected detail. Her hair, bright, reddish gold. Not loud, not unnatural, just different. Different enough to make Patricia pause. She stood at the foot of my hospital bed, arms crossed, lips pressed thin. She doesn't look like an Atwood. That was the first thing she said. Not congratulations. Not she's beautiful. Not even a fake smile. Just suspicion. I laughed it off at the time. My husband, Daniel, squeezed my hand and said, "Mom, genetics are weird. Relax." And I believed him. Because I trusted him. Because I trusted us. Because love makes you blind to the small cracks that slowly grow into fractures. At first, it was subtle. Little comments. "Oh, that hair, where did that come from? Are you sure no one in your family had red hair? She doesn't resemble Daniel much, does she?" Always said lightly. Always followed by a laugh. But never truly a joke. I tried to ignore it. For my daughter. For my husband. For peace. Because that's what women are taught, right? Be patient. Be graceful. Keep the family together. Even if it means swallowing things that slowly choke you. Years passed. My daughter, Lily, grew into a joyful, curious little girl. She loved painting, loved dancing in the living room, and she had this laugh that could melt any tension in a room. Except Patricia's. Because no matter how much Lily smiled, Patricia never stopped watching her. Observing. Judging. Doubting. By the time Lily turned 3, the comments weren't subtle anymore. "They don't match," Patricia said once, while looking at Daniel and Lily side by side. I froze. Daniel frowned. "Mom, enough." But she didn't stop. "You should do a test," she said casually. "Just for peace of mind." Peace of mind. Funny how people use that phrase, when what they really want is control. That night, Daniel apologized. "She's just old-fashioned," he said. "She'll come around." I nodded, but something inside me shifted. Because love doesn't need proof. Trust doesn't need testing. And yet she was planting doubt. Not just in him, but in our entire family. Still, I stayed quiet. Because I believed silence was strength. I thought dignity meant endurance. I thought ignoring her would make her stop. I was wrong. 3 weeks later, something happened that I didn't know about at the time. Something quiet. Something hidden. Something that would change everything. Patricia visited us one afternoon. She brought cookies. She smiled. She asked if she could take Lily to the park. "Just for an hour," she said sweetly. I hesitated, but Daniel nodded. "It's fine." So I said yes. That hour was not spent in a park. It wasn't until much later that I learned the truth, that she had taken my 3-year-old daughter to a clinic without my consent, without my knowledge, and had her DNA tested, not because she cared, but because she wanted proof. Proof that I was a liar. Proof that my daughter wasn't Daniel's. Proof that she could destroy me. But the worst part? She didn't just do it. She planned something far more cruel. She decided to reveal the results in front of the entire family. At Sunday dinner. A public humiliation. A calculated attack. A moment designed to break my marriage and strip me of everything. And I had no idea. Sunday arrived like any other. Warm food. Family chatter. The illusion of normalcy. I wore a soft blue dress. Lily sat beside me, swinging her legs. Daniel poured drinks. And Patricia sat at the head of the table, smiling. Looking back now, that smile wasn't warmth. It was anticipation. "Before we eat," she said suddenly, standing up. The room quieted. "I have something important to share." My heart skipped. I didn't know why, but something felt wrong. Deeply wrong. She reached into her purse, pulled out an envelope. Thick. Official. Dangerous. "I think," she said, looking directly at me, "it's time we all knew the truth." And in that moment, everything inside me went still, because I realized this wasn't going to be a normal dinner. This was a trap, and I was standing right in the middle of it. The room went quiet, so quiet that I could hear my own heartbeat. Slow, heavy, uneasy. Patricia held the envelope like it was a weapon, like it carried power, and maybe she believed it did. "I took the liberty," she continued, "of clearing up a question that's been bothering me for years." My fingers tightened around the edge of the table. Daniel looked confused. "What are you talking about, Mom?" But she didn't answer him. Her eyes stayed on me. Cold. Steady. Certain. "I had a DNA test done." The words landed like a stone in water. Silence rippled across the table. My breath caught. For a second, I couldn't even process it. "You what?" Daniel's voice snapped. But Patricia raised her hand calmly, as if she were in control of everything. "Let me finish." I felt something inside me crack. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. The kind of crack that happens when trust breaks. "You took my daughter," I said slowly, my voice trembling. "Without my permission?" Patricia didn't even flinch. I did what needed to be done. That was the moment. The moment I realized this wasn't about concern. This wasn't about family. This was about control. Pride. And a need to be right. Daniel stood up. "Mom, this is insane." But she ignored him again. Because tonight, this was her stage. "I wanted to protect my son," she said, almost proudly. "And now we'll all know the truth." The truth. Funny how dangerous that word becomes in the hands of someone who thinks they already own it. My eyes moved to the envelope. Then to Daniel. He looked shaken. Angry. Confused. But not doubtful. Not even for a second. And that gave me strength. "Open it," Patricia said, extending the envelope toward him. "Go on, Daniel. Don't you want to know?" The room felt smaller. Tighter. Like the walls were closing in. Every eye was on us. Waiting. Watching. Judging. Daniel hesitated. Then slowly, he reached for the envelope. My heart pounded. Not because I was afraid of the result, but because of what this moment meant. Because some lines, once crossed, can never be erased. He opened it, carefully, pulled out the papers, and began to read. Seconds passed, but they felt like minutes, maybe longer. I watched his face. Every flicker, every shift, searching for something. Doubt. Shock. Anything. But then, his expression changed. Not to anger. Not to confusion. But to something else. Something calm. Something certain. And suddenly, I wasn't afraid anymore. He looked up. Straight at his mother. "She's my daughter." The words were simple. Clear. Final. Silence. Heavy. Crushing silence. Patricia blinked. Just once. Like her mind hadn't caught up yet. "That's not possible," she said quickly. Too quickly. Daniel placed the paper down on the table. "It says I'm her biological father. 99.99% probability." The air shifted. Everything shifted. I felt something rise in my chest. Not victory. Not relief. Something deeper. Something steadier. Truth. Patricia's face tightened. "No, there must be a mistake." But Daniel shook his head. "No mistake." For a moment, I thought it was over. That this was the end of it. That she would finally stop. But I underestimated her. Because Patricia didn't sit down. She didn't apologize. She didn't accept it. Instead, she laughed. A small, strained laugh. "Well," she said, "at least that part is clear." That part? My stomach twisted. Because something in her tone felt unfinished. Daniel frowned. What do you mean, that part? Patricia didn't answer immediately. She reached for the papers again, her fingers slightly trembling now. There's more, she said. Quieter this time, less confident. And suddenly, the power in the room shifted, because whatever she had planned was no longer going the way she expected. Daniel picked up the second page. His brows furrowed. What is this? He asked. Patricia swallowed. I don't know. It must be part of their database report. Database report. I felt a chill run through me. Daniel kept reading. Slowly. Carefully. And then, he went completely still. The kind of stillness that feels louder than any shout. Mom, he said quietly. Something in his voice changed. Something sharp. Something unfamiliar. What is it? Patricia asked. But now, there was fear in her voice. Real fear. Daniel looked up again. But this time, he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at her. There's a match, he said. The room held its breath. A close familial match. Patricia's face went pale. No, she whispered. But Daniel continued. Because now, he needed the truth. It says there's another biological connection in the database. My heart started racing again. But for a completely different reason. Who? Someone at the table asked softly. Daniel's eyes didn't leave Patricia. Not for a second. It doesn't say everything, he replied slowly. But it confirms one thing. He paused. You have another child. And just like that, the room shattered. You have another child. The words didn't just land. They exploded. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. It felt like the entire room had forgotten how to breathe. Patricia's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her hands trembled against the table. Her eyes wide. Not with anger, not with denial, but with something far more fragile. Fear. No, she whispered. But it wasn't strong. It wasn't convincing. It sounded like someone trying to deny a truth they had been running from for years. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He didn't shout. And somehow, that made it worse. What does this mean, Mom? He asked quietly. Quiet questions often carry the heaviest weight. But her voice betrayed her. Because deep down, she already knew. Daniel held up the paper. It says a high-probability maternal match in the database. He swallowed. That doesn't just happen. The room turned toward her. Every eye, every breath, every unspoken question. And suddenly, the woman who had walked in with confidence, who had planned this entire moment, who had been so sure of her control, looked small. I don't know anything about that, she said. But even as she spoke, her voice cracked. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't just a secret. This was something she had buried. Deep. For a long time. Mom, Daniel said again, firmer now. Tell the truth. Truth. The very thing she had tried to weaponize was now standing right in front of her, demanding to be heard. Her shoulders dropped. Just slightly. But enough. And in that moment, I saw it. The shift. The moment she stopped fighting and started remembering. It was a long time ago, she said softly. No one interrupted. Before I met your father. Her eyes didn't meet anyone's now. They were fixed somewhere far away, in a past she thought would never return. I was young, stupid, scared. Her voice trembled. I got pregnant. A breath caught in the room. And I couldn't keep the baby. Silence. Deep, aching silence. I gave her up, Patricia whispered. Her. That one word changed everything. Because this wasn't just a mistake. This was a life. A story. A person. I never told anyone, she continued. I buried it. I moved on. I built my life. Her voice broke. I thought it was over. But truth has a way of finding its way back. Daniel stared at her. Not with anger. Not even with judgment. But with something harder to face. Disappointment. You spent years questioning my daughter, he said slowly. While hiding something like this? Patricia flinched. I was trying to protect you, but the words sounded hollow now. Empty. Protect me? Daniel repeated. You tried to destroy my family. And there it was. The reality she could no longer escape. She looked at me then. For the first time that night. Truly looked at me. There was no superiority left. No control.
No pride.
Only regret. I didn't think, she began. No, I said quietly. You didn't. My voice wasn't angry. It wasn't loud, but it was steady. Because I wasn't speaking from pain anymore. I was speaking from clarity. You didn't think about boundaries. You didn't think about trust. You didn't think about what this would do to a child. I placed my hand gently on Lily's back. She had been quiet this whole time.
Confused.
Unaware of the storm around her. But most of all, I continued softly. You didn't think about the truth. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Because now, she understood. The truth she tried to expose had exposed her instead. And not because anyone forced it. Not because anyone attacked her. But because she brought it into the room herself. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't need noise. It doesn't need revenge. It doesn't need a stage. It just waits, patiently, and when the time comes, it reveals everything. Patricia sat down slowly, like the weight of 36 years had finally caught up to her. No one spoke. There was nothing left to say. Dinner ended quietly.
No shouting. No dramatic exits.
Just silence. The kind of silence that changes relationships forever. That night, Daniel held my hand tighter than ever before. I'm sorry, he whispered. I shook my head gently. This wasn't your fault. Because it wasn't. Some battles aren't yours to fight. Some truths aren't yours to carry. And some people have to face their own past, no matter how long they've tried to run from it. In the weeks that followed, things changed. Daniel set boundaries. Clear ones. Firm ones. Necessary ones. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about it. Because protecting your peace is not cruelty. It's self-respect. As for Patricia, she tried to reach out, tried to explain, tried to fix things. But some actions leave marks that time alone cannot erase. Still, I didn't hate her. Because in the end, she wasn't just the woman who hurt me. She was also the woman who had been carrying her own hidden pain for decades. And maybe that's why she couldn't stop looking for flaws in others. Because facing her own truth was something she had never learned how to do. But now, she had no choice. And as for me, I chose peace. I chose my family. I chose the quiet strength of knowing the truth had always been on my side. And that was more than enough.